We are a nation of immigrants. This country was not built by immigrants. This country was built by settlers who came here and built this country from nothing.
Y'all see that Habsburg chin, right?
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring.
So y'all already know that whatever's about to come out of that cousin-loving jawline is gonna be delusional. Are we talking about the same plague-ridden illegals whose teeth were literally rotting out of their heads and had lice doing cartwheels on their scalps? The same illegal settlers who brought to this continent rats, fleas, and 30 different diseases, claiming they built this country from nothing. The same settlers who had no clue how to manage their own shit. Literally, they dumped piss and feces outside of their windows onto the streets that they walked on daily and called that civilization. So if you ever wonder where the saying, you don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of comes from, that's where. And while your ancestors were marinating in their own waste, my indigenous ancestors already built man-made structures taller than anything in Europe that had already been standing strong for many, many centuries before Europeans even started learning how to build. My indigenous ancestors were mastering astronomy, irrigation, agriculture, managing sanitation systems, and practicing hygiene, including oral hygiene, centuries before Europeans figured out how not to die from your own filth. And after we showed y'all how to clean yourselves, you thanked us. With genocide, rape, enslavement, and land theft, and after your brutality and imported diseases killed off 90% of the indigenous population, you brought in my other ancestors, Africans you kidnapped, to replace the labor force you decimated. And that wealth eventually made the U.S. an economic superpower. The generational wealth that y'all still sit on today wasn't earned. It was inherited from the rapists, colonizers, and slave traders who were your ancestors. Y'all refused to dismantle these oppressive systems that we are still living under today because white prosperity wasn't built on brilliance or merit. It was built and is still upheld by black and brown suffering. And now you have to constantly lie about your history, burning books, pretending your legacy is anything more than barbaric, parasitic violence. Your incestuous, plague-ridden, rat-delivering ancestors didn't build anything. They invaded, they infected, they murdered, and they looted. Just like many of you still do now. You don't come from greatness. You come from filth, rot, and blood. And you're just mad that we won't let you forget it.
Very big question in this particular video is, who built American? Because I've also been doing my own research, and definitely I'm going to dive into all of that in this particular videos. First, hello guys, welcome back again to my channel. It's Sonia and I'm back again with another mind-blowing video. How you guys doing? Hope you guys are fine. Hope you guys are good. If it's the first time tuning in, do subscribe, like video, drop me a comment. Lastly, do not forget to share. I want to say thank you so much for 270 subscribers. Guys, I'm grateful. From 190 yesterday, we moved to 270, and I'm so grateful. I do not take you guys for granted. Thank you so much for your support. If you're watching, you've not subscribed, please do well to hit on the subscribe button. So we have this video that is actually been flying between the white folks and the black folks, where they are always arguing with each other, saying, oh, who built American? Who built American? Who started? Is this settlers? Is this immigrants? Anyways, I have a bunch of videos for you guys to actually catch up. Please let me know in the comment section if you have any contra opinion to this. I'll just go ahead and roll out the clips for you guys, then I'll come back with commentaries. Every videos and stitches we have in this video, credit belongs to the original creators of this video, and I'll be back with commentaries.
Well, this is a country founded by immigrants.
Well, this is a country founded by...
This is a unique country.
This is a very unique country, and it was founded by some immigrants and some settlers, but just because we were founded by immigrants doesn't mean that 240 years later that we have to have the dumbest immigration policy in the world.
The building of America started in the early 1600s, around 1619, where white Americans enslaved Africans, where they used chattel slavery in order to dehumanize them and sell them as property. What chattel slavery did was it made people less than human, so they were able to sell them, inherit them, buy them, and trade them as cattle, as less than humans, as animals. So they used chattel slavery in order to enrich themselves. They kept all the profits, they gave none to the Africans, and they used it as free labor. Free labor equals mass profits. And by the time 1800s came around, that's 200 years later, the United States was the #1 exporting cotton, because enslaved Africans worked in the industry as cotton pickers, rice, tobacco, and sugar. And the United States, because of free labor from Africans, they became the #1 exports in cotton, and which powered the textile industry. And when the textile industry got power through the United States and Europe, white industries became powerhouses through African slavery. And none of the profits, none of the proceeds went to any of the African slaves. They all went to white families. So they handed down through generations profits and major profits, major wealth to white families due to African slavery.
Okay, so we are going to jump into chapter 2 of A People's History of the United States, written by Howard Zinn. Chapter 2 is titled Drawing the Color Line. A lot was unpacked here. We are going to go through this as it's presented in this chapter. For starters, I want to just say that the English settlers that came to what is now known as Virginia did not know what the fuck they were doing. They were starving. They did not know how to grow food. All they had were weapons, bits of barley that they brought on their ships, and the desire to exploit and murder. The native population that was in that area helped these people. They fed these people. And eventually they realized, oh my gosh, these people just want to kill us and take from us. And so they tried to revolt. And then as a response, the settlers were like, yeah, we're gonna just try to kill all of you and we don't fuck with you. There are a lot of points made here throughout this chapter. What I wanna say here is that the earlier years of the Jamestown colony seemed to be hell for these British people. It's documented in the Journals of the House of Burgesses of Virginia, which was a document of 1619, which talks about the first 12 years of the Jamestown colony. To emphasize how much these British people were starving, look at what's written here. Driven through insufferable hunger to eat those things which nature most abhorred, the flesh and excrements of man as well of our own nation, as of an Indian, digged by some out of his grave after he had lain buried for 3 days and wholly devoured him. Others, envying the better state of body of any whom hunger has not yet so much wasted as their own, lay wait and threatened to kill and eat them. One among them slew his wife as she slept in his bosom, cut her in pieces, salted her, and fed upon her. So he had, I can't even, this is disgusting. This is insane. This is crazy. Like, this is not easy to read. But the point I want to drive here is that they would have rather done that than to just coexist and collaborate and work with the native population who was already showing them how to eat and was sharing their food with them. That doesn't make any logical sense to me. To be so committed to domination and private property and ownership of a land that you just discovered, that you would rather eat your peers and your partners than to just coexist with the people there. I don't understand that. I really cannot fathom. But we're gonna move on now. So because the English population could not force the Indians to work for them, as Columbus had done, they were outnumbered by the native population. And while with superior firearms, they could massacre Indians, they would face massacre in return. They could not capture them and keep them enslaved. The Indians were tough, resourceful, defiant, and at home in these woods, as the transplanted Englishmen were not. So white servants had not yet been brought over in sufficient quantity to do the labor and to provide the labor that the English people needed, that the ruling English people needed in order to eat. And besides, they did not come out of slavery and did not have to do more than contract their labor for a few years to get their passage and start in the New World. So basically, there were white people that were coming to the colony as servants, but then eventually they were freed. Unlike those that were brought as slaves, who did not have any kind of expiration on when they would have to offer up their labor. So here it says, there may have been a kind of frustrated rage at their own ineptitude, at the Indian superiority, at taking care of themselves, that made the Virginians especially ready to become the masters of slaves. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next video because now we're going to start talking about when black slaves were introduced to...
The United States was not built by immigrants. The United States was built by settlers. Immigrants like me and maybe you, we came here when everything was done, when the roads were paved, when the infrastructure was done, when electricity was here. America was built by settlers. And the difference is the settlers came here to buried lands, to the plains of the Americas, where there was absolutely nothing. And they built cities, and they built the railways, and they built everything else. We are not the same as the settlers. We come here and we enjoy the privilege of being in the United States and take advantage of everything that the United States has to offer us. The settlers weren't offered anything. The settlers came here and built everything So privileged people like me and you can come here in the United States and live and chase the American dream. We are not legal here, we are privileged to be here. So to say that the United States was built by immigrants is not true. Secondly, it's not stolen land, it's conquered land. There were wars, and wars were lost, and some won, and some lost. And now the people that lost are calling it, oh, you stole my land. No, you lost the war. That's it. There's nothing more to it. Everybody that had ever been in the military knows that the number one equation to know if you're winning the war is how much land you're conquering. That's it. You didn't get land stolen. The land was conquered because some people lost the war. And also, let's not forget the treaty between Texas and Mexico. So if you're an American, you should know that because it's part of your country's history.
The United States was originally founded as the United Colonies in 1776, and the first to officially recognize this was the Dutch colonial empire by way of the island of Saint Eustatius, which was the seat of power of the Atlantic slave trade. At the time, this island was being governed by the Van Roosevelt family, now known as the Roosevelt family. New York was originally founded as New Amsterdam. The United Colonies have always been governed by royal families of Dutch origin. These include the Roosevelts, the Adams, and the Bush family. The land that the Empire State Building was built on was originally owned by Claus Rosenfeld. Chemical Bank, founded in 1824 by Cornelius Roosevelt, acquired Chase Manhattan Bank in 1996 and assumed their name. The Dutch royal family owns the largest bank in the United Colonies. I wonder if they hang out with the Saudi family.
You're a nation of immigrants. This country was not built by immigrants. This country was built by settlers who came here and built this country from nothing. There is a big difference between being a settler and being an immigrant who comes to a developed country to sign up for all sorts of benefits.
To all the colonizers out there, I would like to let you know that I am no longer an immigrant. I'm actually a settler. That's right, settling in the Bay Area. European Americans are always trying to find a way to avoid referring to themselves or their ancestors as people that migrated, almost as if there is a negative connotation with migration. They're always trying to say that they were settlers, calling themselves digital nomads, or when they're like expats. But anyways, colonizers over here said that there was nothing. What about all the indigenous people? What about the indigenous communities and culture? Just conveniently forgetting about that? And to try to dismiss that this country is what it is today thanks to the labor of people that migrated here, like the immigrants that built the railroad, like the people that worked the field to be able to feed America, waves and waves of migration, people that led to the advancement of this country. In this video, he goes on to say that the European settler colonizers essentially came up and pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. That migrants right now are sort of like leeching off the system. And then at the end saying that he's tired of playing those mental gymnastics about why migration is good for the country, which is why he's doing mental gymnastics to try to say why they're not welcome. One last thing I want to address is that he talks about endless migration. And we are asking for endless migration. So let me be super clear here. What people like myself are asking is for pathways for folks to be able to seek a safe place to live that are attainable. So people don't have to migrate not the proper way. And we are asking for people to be treated with dignity, because I think him forgetting there was indigenous communities here already and just call them nothing says a lot about his perspective in general. No matter what I say, this fella's not going to change his mind, because it's clear that he has cemented his perception. That's why we say that colonizer is a mindset. It's not a blanket statement for everyone. When you see fellas like him defending colonization.
Ethiopia was never colonized, and it remains one of the poorest countries on the planet. Meanwhile, Singapore was colonized, and it is one of the richest countries.
But anyways, familia, what do y'all think about anything I said? Anything he said? What do y'all think about my new title as a settler in this country? Let me know.
Anyways, after making some of my own research too, and this is what I've been able to gather, which is my only two ones I've been able to gather. Let me know, like I always said it in my video, that I stand a chance to be corrected if I'm saying anything out of point, right? I said the men who built America refers to a group of powerful industrialists and businessmen who significantly shaped the United States during the late 90s and the early 20th century. These individuals include Cornelius Vanderbilt, John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, J.P. Morgan, and Herringford. Amassed vast fortune and influenced various sectors like railroad, oil, steel, France, and automobile. The story are often associated with the American dreams due to their humble beginning and subsequent rise to immense success. You understand? And there's actually a particular video that I've actually seen where I see presidents, like the past president of America, saying, oh, we are immigrants. You understand? When I mean the past president of America, I mean the white folks past president of America and saying, we are immigrants, we are not settlers. Americans already have settlers, which is like the black folks, right, before we came in. But anyways, who am I to judge, right? If you're watching and you know the right answer, please let us know in the comment section, okay? I'll go ahead and roll out some of the clips I have for you guys as well, and then I'll be back with commentaries. But the biggest question still remains, who built American? You understand? So let me know, guys, in the comment section. Let me know what your thoughts is, and then I will come back with commentaries.
The reason I keep hammering that European settlers built America is only because it's a completely verifiable fact that everyone knows, yet the only reason it's still brought up hundreds of years later as a talking point is they want to discredit the idea that Europeans built this place so that their descendants don't feel like they have a claim to the land. The reason they do that is they want borderless nations, so they want like a global one world government, right? So to get that, you would actually have to make it so the US had completely open borders, because once their borders were open, well, everyone else's borders are now open too, and no one has a sovereign nation, because the people that created the idea of everyone having sovereign nations are the country getting destroyed from the inside. They would actually much prefer you get suckered into giving your land back, but of course it wouldn't go back to the Native Americans, it would go to the government. Except this wouldn't just be the US government, this would be the global government. So think like the UN, the WEF, all these unelected people that make all these decisions. But yeah, anyway, I don't bring it up because I don't think Native Americans have a claim to the land. Like when I say I'm native to here, I mean I was born here. I would say Native Americans are indigenous, and I'm not. I also believe this land belongs to the descendants of African Americans who have also lived here for hundreds of years. So my bringing this up has really nothing to do with me thinking this land only belongs to white people, and everything to do with the fact that I would prefer we have sovereignty, and I would prefer all the other countries have that as well, because sovereignty just means countries can do things differently. So if some countries want these laws and other countries don't, we don't all have to do the same thing. So that's the importance of that, and I think every country deserves it, so that's why I continue to tell you the truth, which is this place was completely, or almost completely, 90% settled by European Americans. Cope and seethe about it.
So it says here, even free white women not brought as servants or slaves, but as wives of the early settlers faced special hardships. 18 married women came over on the Mayflower. 3 were pregnant. By the spring, only 4 of those 18 women were still alive. That's freaking nuts. Those who lived sharing the work of building a life in the wilderness with their men were often given a special respect because they were so badly needed. And when men died, women often took up the men's work as well. All through the 1st century and more, women on the American frontier seemed close to equality with their men. But all women were burdened with ideas carried over from England, with the colonists influenced by Christian teachings. The way that Christianity, that the Bible, that religion has been used to oppress people, to justify slavery, to justify the oppression of women. I'm not gonna get into it too much, but I cannot believe anything, because those same words were used to like kill people. English law was summarized in a document of 1632 entitled The Laws Resolutions of Women's Rights. In this consolidation, which we call wedlock, is a locking together. It is true that man and wife are one person, but understand in what manner. It says, when a small brook or little river incorporeth with Rhodanus, Humber, or the Thames, the poor rivulet loseth her name. A woman, as soon as she is married, is called covert, that is veiled, as it were, clouded and overshadowed. She hath lost her stream. I may more truly far away say to a married woman, her new self is her superior, her companion, her master. Your husband is your master. Fam. Your husband is your superior. He is your master. And then y'all wonder why women are like, I'm never getting married. Hell no, I'm never getting married. And then you wonder why why the 4B movement is happening. Because this energy from 1632, we are in 2024. And there are so many men who believe exactly that. There's so many men, there's so many societies, there's so many countries that allow that energy to remain true. Your man is your master, but he's also your companion, right? Fuck out of here.
Something I think about a lot is that the United States is a settler colonial state with a capitalist economy. In a settler colonial state, people get to steal land and resources, and they create a system to benefit them through capitalism. So the only way that that can happen is they have to find a way to justify it, because in this system, some people have a lot and some people have absolutely nothing. And so the way that they have justified that here in the United States and throughout North America and even Latin America is that they have created a racial hierarchy. So a racial hierarchy says that the people at the top of that hierarchy are white, and they are more deserving, they are superior. And if you are not white, if you are brown or black, then you are inferior and therefore less deserving. So this system is used to justify why some people have a lot and those people are white, and why some people have nothing and those people are black and brown. And so because we are all so used to living in this settler colonial state, when we see what is happening in Gaza, it makes a lot of sense, because these are the exact same ideas that have been applied here. However, I think that there is something about being able to observe this happening somewhere else that is helping to open up people's minds and see it in a different way. Because here in the US, it's almost part of like our brainwashing, so we are not always aware of it as it's happening. We can buy into those ideas a little bit easier because we're surrounded by them. But when we watch this happening in another place across the world, and we see brown people just being bombed and murdered and brutally attacked, and we see why, things start to click. And so I think that what's happening right now is so threatening to the status quo of America, because a lot of people are waking up and they're seeing not only what's happening in Gaza to the Palestinians, but it's also waking them up to what they are experiencing themselves here, because Israel is a settler colonial state with militarized borders, and we here in the United States are a settler colonial state with militarized borders, only on the side against the brown people.
Black people truly have no allies, and solidarity is really out the window in my mind for everyone under the POC umbrella. But especially when it comes to black people, it appears that we are just the can everybody wants to kick around. A Native woman came online and said that black people are settlers. We are the settlers under the settler colonialism.
Black Americans' claim of being the original indigenous people of this land was actually somewhat predicted in this article. There are differences between being oppressed and being a settler. If people are unable to distinguish between the two, then they think Black Americans, but also other settler immigrants. It is a fact that we are all affected by colonization, but by saying that we are all colonized, the implication is that no one is a settler, which can ignore the fact that some people of color can still be settlers on indigenous land.
You may be thinking to yourself, how does that make any sense? Because a Native definitely knows that African Americans are a product of enslaved people. But she's tying it to all those pretendians who saying that they're the original inhabitants of this land. They're the original Indians. They're the natives of this land, even though that's not all of us. So to take a claim that's made by a small percentage of black people in this country and then say that all black people are settlers is really crazy. Settler colonialism is a logic and structure using colonial rule to overtake an environment and replace it with your own people and replace the indigenous people, which has happened here. Black people did not settle in America by choice. Anybody that has settled around the world under the imperialistic guise that happened during the Great Scramble for Africa, for China, India, Australia, and Americas, that was Europeans. We did not settle here. We were forced here by slavery, a system of slavery, one of the biggest migration of human bodies in human history. And we then spent hundreds of years here under forced labor, while at the same time, I can hold two truths. At the same time, your ancestors were killed, were taken out by biological warfare, your land was stolen, there were land grabs, you were forced into settlements, you were forced into containment areas. That is true, but we didn't do that. We didn't take your land over. If anything, the Malian kingdom definitely visited America hundreds of years before Europe. Scandinavians visited the America hundreds of years before Columbus. But the French, the Dutch, the English, they stayed. The Spanish, they stayed. This conversation is crazy. I feel like every day there's always something new that's coming up about Black Americans that people feel the need to use us to drive their point home. Two things can be true. This can be your land, you can be colonized, you can be displaced, and settlers took your land. I can be the product of colonialism by forced migration and slavery. Wow. Because the pretendians are coming online saying that they're the natives, you're saying that we all are settlers. I've heard it all. I've heard it all.
Of some of these clips that we've been able to roll out and that you guys have been able to see, a lot of people are saying that Americans already have settlers, that the white folks are actually not people that built American. And this particular guy has really been the one that has been pulling out this controversy online, because if you wake up, if you sleep and you think that this guy, it is done with, oh, we built American, he will just come back with, Americans, we built it, we are not immigrants, we are settlers. You understand? And by the time you start saying it, black folks will actually start reacting, start outraging, start saying different thing according to your own point of views. But you guys can also see from the point of my videos that I've actually played for you guys, who do you think built American? Let me know what you think in the comment section. And another thing I want to say is, be it white folks, be it black folks that built American, I think we don't need to be doing most of this argument so much. You understand? The American history is clear. It is clear enough for everybody to see it. So be it you are a black folk or you are a white folks and then you are arguing, you understand, you know what you're arguing. Some of this white knows that what they're arguing is wrong. You understand? That's what I feel, right? Correct me if I'm wrong if you're watching and you're white, okay? I feel like they know that this thing that they're actually arguing about is wrong. They know that Americans, they are immigrants, and the black folks, the black Americans are actually the settlers, but they will still come out and put it out here so that probably they want to get more engagement and so on and so forth. But it will be good for us to also know our histories and where we are coming from, because there was recent research that I was actually looking out for, and I noticed that a lot of black Americans are coming out to say, oh, they are burning their library, they are burning their history libraries, their history books, they are removing history from schools, and so on and so forth. Let me know in the comment section if that is also wrong as well, because I've seen different videos talking about, oh, burning history books, removing histories of America. You understand? And we've seen so many different videos that is crystal clear where these Europeans, right, or these white folks actually came into America, took what belonged to Americans, and then committed different atrocities according to what we have read, according to research that I've actually seen, right? Committed different atrocities and then tried their possible best to move the people that are supposed to be the settlers, and then they decide to take charge and take over what is not even theirs. You understand? So we've seen different videos like that. Histories have said it over and over again. Histories have made it clear. People have come out, even their president have come out. There's a particular video that even Donald Trump said it, that we are immigrants. Like, I cannot just leave the settlers. You understand? I don't know if I can find the clip of that video. Maybe probably I'll just do a research and just attach the clip. But if I cannot attach it, then we just have to manage this video like that. But anyways, we did not build, white build, black build, brown build, purple build. No matter who built American, all we are advocating for is for a peaceful community. You understand? The black community has actually gone through a lot, especially when it even comes to this racism of a thing. We've been putting on videos here and we see where these whites want to like just do like a face-to-face confrontation and so on and so forth. And of which it is not a good one, right? I keep saying it in my video that we are all one, but I still want to get my answers from this particular great question: who built American? You guys leave me your thoughts in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this particular video. Let me know what the history is talking about. Let me know in case I'm wrong in one of the things that I said. Let me know as well, okay? If you have not subscribed, subscribe, like this video, drop me your comment, and lastly, do not forget to share for every single person to get this good news. And yes guys, with no further ado, like I say in my videos, I'm going to be saying bye, and I'll see you guys in my next one. The questions still remain: who built Americans? Let me know in the comment section. Bye for now. I love you. Mwah.